ambassadors, colleagues, honored guests, and friends to the 5th Trans-Caspian Forum. My name is Efkan Nifty, and I'm the CEO of the Caspian Policy Center. When we started the forum, we could not imagine that it would blossom into the annual celebration of cooperation and connectivity in the greater Caspian region that it has become. The Caspian region plays a vital role in connecting people and goods across the continents. The Trans-Caspian acts as a bridge between Europe and Asia and serves as a hub for commerce, infrastructure, and energy. Since the countries of the Caspian region gained independence 30 years ago, the United States has played a critical role in promoting the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and economic development of each. The United States has maintained its strong partnership with the governments of the region, and we hope that this will continue well into the future. On the other side, the countries of the Caspian have been important strategic partners for the United States. They have eagerly worked with Washington to enhance global energy security, international infrastructure development, and the establishment of free market business practices. At the same time, it's essential that these partnerships incorporate new thinking and adapt. In the age of COVID-19 pandemic and rapidly accelerating change in the business and information technology sectors, the US-Caspian relationship must evolve too. The new administration in Washington offers an excellent opportunity for the United States and the region to reassess how to make the most of our partnership going forward and set off down new avenues of cooperation. Over the next 4 sessions, our esteemed panelists will delve into topics including infrastructure, energy, entrepreneurship, among many others. At this year's Trans-Caspian Forum, I hope the discussions will encourage innovation in the diplomatic and business communities that form the backbone of US partnership with the region. Trans-Caspian Forum exists not only as a celebration of connectivity, but also as an incubator of ideas. CPC's transition to online programming has enabled us to host more events than will be possible in person and have facilitated an unprecedented level of participation by our colleagues in the region. Although we may not be able to have the same intimate forum we would have in Washington, our new online setting means that we can bring together a truly diverse set of speakers from across the Caspian region and the United States. Before I conclude, I would like to take a moment to thank the many esteemed speakers who have taken their time to join us for this year's forum. Your exceptional knowledge and insight on the region are what makes this event unique, and CPC and I sincerely thank you for your participation. I also want to take a moment to thank to our all partners and including all the embassies for making this event possible. With that, we will begin with a short video highlighting some of CPC's activities in 2020. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention for this video, and I want to take a moment to say sorry that the event started a little late, but thanks for being here. And now I'd like to turn to floor over to Ambassador Richard Hoagland. Ambassador Hoagland is a founding member of our Caspian Policy Center's board and served as the U.S. Ambassador to Kazakhstan and U.S. Ambassador to Tajikistan before that. And Ambassador Hoagland, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very, very much. I welcome you all around the world to this 5th Trans-Caspian Forum, and it's taking place also significantly in the 30th year of independence of 8 of our participating nations today. We're going to start our program today with welcome comments from the ambassadors from the region who are posted to Washington, D.C. We will go in the following order: Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkey. So without further ado, I would like to ask Ambassador Roya Rahmani of Afghanistan to open with her welcome comments. The floor is yours, madam.
Thank you. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you. I'm really glad to be here with this incredible group this morning to discuss the wealth of opportunities in the Caspian region and the future of the U.S.-Caspian partnership. Thank you to the Caspian Policy Center for bringing us all once again together, and to Mr. Nefti and Ambassador Hoagland for the opening remarks. It is always a pleasure to speak alongside fellow ambassadors, and I am encouraged by the incredible speakers we have today from all around the region. I thank you all for demonstrating your dedication to our regional partnership by being here. I also extend my gratitude to those representing the United States. Your support for Afghanistan is, as always, deeply appreciated. It is wonderful to be back at the Trans-Caspian Forum. It would be really an understatement to say that things have changed since we last time met. Just over a year ago, the world was brought into a screeching halt, and in the span of a few weeks, we had to reconfigure the way we had been working for decades. As borders closed, trade plumbed, and the vulnerabilities of our global supply chain became glaring, we were confronted with the urgent need to adapt. The pandemic truly brought forth a wealth of challenges, lessons, and changes, from the way we communicate with one another to how we conduct business to what diplomacy looks like. But one of the most poignant lessons was how reliant we are on one another, and the urgent need for a deeper and more strategic cooperation, both globally and within our region. As we shift our focus toward post-pandemic recovery, we shouldn't aspire to a world that looks like it did in 2019. Instead, we should be learning and leaning into each other more than ever in order to better promote our collective security and prosperity. We know that the path to a brighter future for Afghanistan and the region is through increased regional economic and trade cooperation, as well as removing trade barriers and enhancing regional connectivity. Investing in infrastructure is key to returning Afghanistan to its historical role as a regional roundabout and bolstering the potentials of the region. Although they are critical, roads and bridges are not enough to unlock the region's full potential. Digital trade went mainstream during the pandemic and redefined what connectivity means. Therefore, we cannot neglect to develop our soft infrastructure, which will enable digital trade and broader connectivity, things that are now considered essential public goods. We must endeavor to streamline procedures, regulations, and laws to allow for seamless trade and investment, facilitating ease of business by coordinating with one another is well within our power and well worth the effort. Investing in infrastructure will create jobs and hopes for Afghans, which will aid in the pandemic recovery process. But perhaps far more importantly, economic growth will have a stabilizing effect that will help mitigate the ongoing conflict. A secure Afghanistan would allow for increased economic opportunities for the region as a whole by improving physical security, increasing investors' confidence, and creating spillover effect as one country's progress becomes a boon for the whole region. COVID was a huge challenge, but it also provided us with huge opportunities. It has given us the opportunity to see ourselves and our countries more clearly, the opportunity to more candidly reassess our futures and craft something better than we had before. We must seize these opportunities and ensure that we are ready to continue adapting as we confront the constantly evolving world. I thank you.
And thanks so much to you, Madam Ambassador. We really appreciated those remarks. We will now turn to Azerbaijan, Ambassador Elin Suleimanov, whom I've worked with many years, and I look forward to your comments, sir. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Ambassador, and good morning to everybody in Washington. Good evening to our colleagues and friends in the region. I want to, first of all, thank you for this opportunity for inviting me and congratulate the CPC and the team led by Afghan Nifty on this great success. In the last several years, CPC and the Trans-Caspian events have become a major feature of Washington. And I have to say that the progress made has been amazing. And of course, my gratitude and congratulations to the one and only Ambassador Hoagland. Your knowledge has been a little bit disturbingly wide in our region, but I thank you for your contribution in bringing together so many of us, actually. I am, of course, deeply honored by the presence of my distinguished colleagues and our friends and colleagues from the region. It's my fellow ambassadors probably represent the creme of the creme, the best of the best in Washington, D.C. And I'm so proud to be a part of the group which has such a stellar folks among the diplomatic community. And I couldn't agree more with Ambassador Rahmani's words about regional integration and need to integrate our countries together and working together. And I think that is the key, and that's the future for our region. When we look at the regional integration, there have been some very good news in recent over the last year. So, for instance, we have finally completed the Southern Gas Corridor at the end of 2020, and that's a major milestone in energy development. And of course, that was done with the region as a whole. It moved Caspian energy to the European market. But I think the core of that, the fundamental beginning of that was the partnership between Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Georgia, which I think is a very important example of regional cooperation and countries working together. I think that's a very good example. There's a great news about Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan working together on a memorandum on the Dostuk field in the Caspian. This is also a very important development. And of course, Trans-Caspian cooperation with Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan has been extremely positive. I also agree, as the United States leaves Afghanistan, which has been a major direction of the foreign policy and security policy over the last 2 decades, I think the future of Afghanistan clearly lies in integration with the Central Asian and the Trans-Caspian partners. And Azerbaijan is ready to play a positive role in this, and it is very encouraged by all the cooperation we have with our Afghan friends and colleagues, including sharing our innovative technologies such as Asans Hidmat and all this. I think, of course, the fundamental developments came from energy in the Trans-Caspian region, but we should not forget that, as our colleagues will tell you from the Ministry of Energy and from the port of Baku, the Minister of Energy will tell you that there's a major increase in non-oil economy in Azerbaijan, including trade and transportation and services. And the representative of the port of Baku will tell you how much the transportation from Central Asia into Europe over the Caspian Sea has increased. And I think that's also a very positive development. So we need to look at this as well. Of course, the most fundamental change which happened in 2020 was the liberation of the Azerbaijan's previously occupied territories and the restoration of Azerbaijan's constitutional control over the territories which were previously occupied by Armenia. Why this is important in this context? Because it offers unique opportunities for developing a fully integrated region and involving Armenia and other partners in communication, transportation projects, and finally breaking this stalemate which has been there for 30 years. And I think that opportunity should not be missed. And I encourage and urge my American colleagues to look at this as an opportunity and focus on the future, which it promises not only to Azerbaijan, not only to Armenia, but the entire region. Ambassador Hoagland mentioned that it's been 30 years since many of us have been independent. That's a very important milestone for us. 30 years ago was a historic moment. And at that moment, the decisions made in our capitals changed the region. But what also was very important, the support the United States has extended to projects of integration, moving forward, development, and security in the region. Today, because of what happened between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because Azerbaijan has liberated its territories, there's also a historic moment. There's also a moment of inflection. And I do hope that the American colleagues of ours will actually see that as an opportunity to make another historic move for integration of the entire region, for moving forward, for opening the communications, and finally turning our region into a region of complete integration, peace, and long-standing prosperity. Thank you very much, and all the best to all my friends and colleagues in this very important conference. I look forward to hearing your remarks, which would probably be much more interesting and comprehensive than mine. Thank you.
And thanks so much to you, Ambassador Suleimanov. That was very comprehensive. We appreciate your comments. We will turn next to Ambassador from Georgia, Ambassador David Bakradze. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be back, and I want to congratulate Afghan and congratulate Ambassador Hoagland for the fifth forum, out of which I think this is my fourth participation, and I'm really proud and I'm really happy to see the progress and the development that the center and this attention that this forum has from year to year. As it was mentioned by Ambassador Hoagland, 2021 marks the 30th anniversary of independence of many of the participating countries, and this has been a remarkable 30 years of close cooperation and partnership with each other, as well as where United States was one of the first countries to recognize the independence of our nations, as well as support and stand besides Georgia, rendering strong support for the last 3 decades for its economic development, economic growth, for democratic development, for building our defense capabilities. And we greatly value and appreciate the strategic partnership with the United States, and this partnership is very broad, is wide-ranging, it's bilateral, as well as it includes the cooperation of the United States together with the countries of the region. And as it was mentioned, it's 5th anniversary of the Caspian Forum, and forum that has brought together high-level government representatives from United States, from the region, and I'm looking forward to the discussions today. I was following the video that Afghan has shared, and I'm really glad to see that despite the pandemics, organizers have successfully managed to adopt to the new realities and maintain real high interest to the region, to the discussion of the opportunities related with our region. Throughout these years, Georgia has considered the collaboration with the neighbors as the only viable way to ensuring security, stability, and sustainable development of the region. And this is a very complex geopolitical environment, creating a setting where the cooperation can flourish and the countries can benefit from this cooperation. And due to the strategic location of Georgia, of course, the role of connecting link between Europe and Asia has always been a key for us, and where we already gained substantial progress. And during the last forums, we have in depth discussed these opportunities, the future plans, and the areas of this cooperation is obviously the transport, energy, etc. In this context, I wanted to specifically underline the two dimensions. One, it's U.S. investments, and last year, despite the pandemic, Georgia and Poti Port has received the DFC large investment in expansion project of the Poti Port. Another example, this week we are launching a new part of the Batumi port, where the New York-based company Tramo is investing in, and that will serve in connecting the Central Asia, the goods transportation, helping transportation of goods from the Central Asia and Caucasus to Europe and beyond. In addition to that, and my dear colleague Elin has mentioned, the existing and ongoing regional projects are a big part of this cooperation between Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. We enjoy a strategic partnership, and this brings, of course, more energy independence, therefore stability and security and resilience of our countries that is very much needed. And I'm looking forward to listening to the high-level officials, professionals from the United States and wider region, discussing the new opportunities, which is so much needed, especially now in the post-pandemic period. Thank you.
And thanks so very much to you, Ambassador Bakradze. We really appreciated that comprehensive comment. Next, we will turn to the fairly recently arrived in Washington, Ambassador of Kazakhstan, Yerzhan Ashikbayev. He might be recently arrived here, but he certainly knows his territory because I have worked with him personally for many years when he was still in Kazakhstan. So welcome, Ambassador Ashikbayev, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador Hoagland. Good morning, dear friends, excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished panelists, and participants. This is my first time with Trans-Caspian Forum. I'm honored to attend its 5th annual meeting, kindly hosted by Caspian Policy Center, and to join such a distinctive group of experts and policymakers. A special thanks go to Mr. Afgan Nifty, Ambassador Hoagland, and their able colleagues for the enduring commitment and tireless efforts to increase awareness and educate different audiences, both here in the US and abroad, of immense potential and mutual benefits of greater US engagement with this strategically important region. On the background of new geopolitical and geo-economic realities across entire wider Trans-Caspian region, today's forum agenda highlights the most promising areas of cooperation that regional players, our countries, should pay attention to for their sustainable post-COVID economic recovery. But more importantly, the forum stresses the need for a re-energized, multidimensional partnership within the region, as well as the multifaceted cooperation, comprehensive cooperation of the United States with every single country of the region, both in bilateral and multilateral formats. We in Kazakhstan fully share this vision. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev firmly believes that only by bringing together our efforts against the novel pandemic and enhancing mutual engagement, we will be capable of effectively addressing current challenges and delivering tangible results to our people. Because of its size, central location, economic performances, and driven by political will of the first president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, Kazakhstan has been a crucial contributor to trans-Eurasian connectivity and prominent advocate of regional economic integration, not only with its immediate neighbors, but well beyond its borders. Over the past years, Kazakhstan has invested about $30 billion to the infrastructural development. Experts have calculated that today, my country accounts for almost 70% of land transit traffic from China to Europe and vice versa. 5 railway and 6 international automobile routes pass through the territory of Kazakhstan. This makes it possible to deliver goods to Europe from China through Kazakhstan and back in 15 days, while shipping by sea takes 2 or 3 times longer. This was complemented by proactive foreign policy, whereby Kazakhstan vigorously invested in building cordial and good neighborhood relations with its neighbors and mutually beneficial strategic partnership relations with the United States, but also with other major players. We see multiple opportunities for practical engagement across a number of policy priorities of the Biden-Harris administration, be it countering terrorism or other security challenges, tackling the climate emergency, promoting women economic empowerment, promoting human rights, and many more. I firmly believe that the Greater Caspian region countries possess all essential instruments to ensure peace, security, and sustainable development and growth. We hope that today's stimulating discussion and exchange of views will seize the opportunity to find new avenues for closer cooperation of all nations represented here with the United States. This will be the best gift to my country, to most of participating nations for our 30th anniversary of independence. And I thank you.
And we certainly thank you, Ambassador Ashikbayev, for those comprehensive comments. We will turn next to another fairly recently arrived ambassador in Washington, but someone that we very much appreciate being with us today. This is the Ambassador of Kyrgyzstan, Baktibek Aminbayev. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Morning, dear forum participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to welcome all of you on this important annual forum. Also, let me thank my colleague from the Caspian Policy Center for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of the Kyrgyz Republic. I would also like to thank the organizers of this forum. I'm looking forward to taking part in this timely and highly relevant discussion. And I would like to offer a few short remarks. Now, let me start by noting some of you may know, many centuries ago, the waters from Alai Mountain in Kyrgyz Republic used to reach the Caspian Sea through Ambassadorial River, which now, of course, used to fall around sea. But it isn't just for this geographic fact that we should consider Kyrgyzstan place that is not far what is happening in the Caspian region. The issues raised today at the forum are very close and relevant to my country for the following reasons. Firstly, we all have a deeply historical and cultural community for many years. The Great Silk Road, which historically came from China and India, across Central Asia, flowed into the Caspian region, and further connected Central Asia with the countries of the Old World. Secondly, the countries of the Central Eurasia and the Caspian Sea are partners in multiple bilateral, multilateral integration process, unions, and alliances. We share common history, culture, societal values beyond just economic and security or diplomatic interests. countries who are under the pressure of global challenges, such as global warming, environmental pollution, and the pandemic. The pandemic, COVID-19 changes our world and disrupted very big of our societies. The past 2020 was very difficult year for almost all countries in the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has become the biggest challenge to the global economy. And our country is no exception. Our GDP decreased by 8.6% in 2020. Inflation rate reached 9.7%. And the poverty level increased from 20% to 31%, according to the World Bank data. Still remains highly turbulent in 2021. In this regard, the main goal of macroeconomic policy of Pakistan for the coming years will be create conditions for new economic growth and improve well-being of each citizen. We understand very well that Pakistan cannot achieve all this alone. All the main requirements for early economic recovery is about the volume, the diversity of foreign investment in our economy, and the related deeper integration of the country in the regional and the global economy. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear foreign participants, our countries are blessed have many natural economic advantages, be it fossil fuels, the hydro power, water resources, or geographic location. Only by combining our common potential will be able to overcome all the challenges in the streets of our time. Instead of the Great Silk Road gives us an invaluable hint in what direction new trade roads should be laid. What infrastructure project can unite our countries for mutually beneficial trade, economic and investment cooperation. Pakistan has remains open to any dialogue and the search for new ideas for the welfare of our peoples on the clear and the peaceful. In conclusion, dear colleagues, let me wish fruitful work to our people, and once again thank the organizers for their opportunity to speak to all. Thank you for attention.
And thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. We very much appreciate those comments. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to change our schedule just a tad here. I'm going to move next to Mr. Eric Green to give his keynote address, simply because working in the White House, his schedule is enormously tight. And he unfortunately will have to leave at exactly 10 o'clock. So the two ambassadors remaining, if you will forgive me, we will immediately come back to you. But I would like to turn now to Mr. Eric Green. He is the Acting Senior Director for Russia and Central Asia at the U.S. National Security Council. Mr. Green, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I really appreciate your flexibility in accommodating the schedule that I have. I really want to thank you, Ambassador Hoagland, and your Caspian Central Asian, the Caspian Policy Center, for allowing me to speak today. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you the new administration's approach to the region. As you all know, the US has been deeply engaged with the Central Asian and Caucasus countries since their independence 30 years ago. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all the ambassadors and those present from the countries on this real milestone this year that we're going to be celebrating periodically throughout the year. Our country, the United States, has been absolutely unwavering in its commitment to the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of all the countries in this region. And that remains the foundation of our relationship and our policy. Across the 3 decades of partnership, the United States has learned to appreciate the many challenges faced by these countries, including economic and environmental pressures, the need to evolve governance systems to provide services to growing populations, and the challenges of enduring security concerns. What I'd like to do today is talk about our approach, the new administration's approach, and I kind of group them into 3 categories. First of all, to strengthen the region's resilience, our new administration seeks to further encourage the development of the Caucasus and Central Asian countries' connectivity within the region to neighboring countries and to the international community. Through continued and consistent United States engagement on economic, energy, security, democracy, and governance issues, we believe the countries of the Trans-Caspian region can begin to work successfully and function as a group of cooperative partners, increasing their ability to maintain individual sovereignty, as well as to develop regional collaborative capabilities. For instance, we are pleased to support the continued progress of the flagship C5+1 initiative that began under Secretary of State John Kerry in 2015. A strong platform for dialogue and cooperation between the US and Central Asia, the C5+1 under this administration will continue to feature practical, high-level engagement between regional leaders on security, environment, commercial, and other critical areas for cooperation. And I want to highlight that Secretary of State Tony Blinken met in a virtual format with his counterpart, foreign ministers, on April 23rd. And we look forward to continuing using this format to engage with the Central Asian partners. A second approach continues on this theme of connectivity, and this is really bilateral between the United States and countries in the region. We're really particularly interested in engaging and developing openings with the region's large youthful population through education, civil society, as well as private sector outreach opportunities. This generation, like every young generation, holds different views from their parents or grandparents. And I think in this context, it's even probably more pronounced when we think about the transition 30 years ago from the Soviet Union to new independent states. And half of the region's population now was born following the breakup of the Soviet Union. So that's a good time to reflect on the need to really redouble our efforts for outreach and engagement with this rising generation. This generation represents the region's future, and we believe these young people are the key to needed innovation and adoption of new technologies that will help propel the Trans-Caucasus region towards successful global engagement. And as you know, one of our priorities of this administration are the challenges to do with climate change, and green technology is certainly an area that we want to engage with worldwide, including in the Trans-Caspian region. A third point that I want to make is that nobody can ignore the geopolitics of this region. The countries of both the Caucasus and Central Asia throughout their histories have shown great resilience and resourcefulness in maintaining their sovereignty and their freedom of action. Our core principles are for countries, large or small, wherever they are in the world, that they will thrive in the context of a rules-based international order where nations can focus on investing in their people for sustainable development. Again, we see our focus on connectivity, both within the region and externally, as core to reinforcing the rules-based international order. And when we talk about the region, we can't also ignore the challenge of Afghanistan. For the past 18 years, US forces have helped the broader region by combating terrorist threats in Afghanistan. Even as we withdraw military forces from Afghanistan, we recognize this will present new challenges, but we intend to continue our focus and our priority on stabilizing the country and the region as a whole to make sure that it does not again become a haven by which terrorists can attack countries farther afield. And we look forward to continuing our close cooperation on security issues with the Trans-Caspian countries to enhance their abilities in countering terrorism and their concerns about border security. So in conclusion, I just want to reinforce that the Biden-Harris administration wants to foster partnerships with the remarkable countries of this region and to build upon our shared interests to foster the region's strength and ability to engage with global markets, particularly as all of our countries seek to rebound from the global pandemic. Thanks again, Ambassador Hoagland, for the opportunity to join you this morning. And I look forward to working closely with the Caspian Policy Center in the future as we work to reinforce and deepen our relations with this critical region. Thank you.
And sincere thanks to you, Eric, for these important comments to start us off today. And thank you so very much for taking time out of your very tight schedule. And I know that you have to run now. My apologies for changing our schedule a bit, but this is life. This is the way things work. I would like to return to our welcome comments from the ambassadors. And next will be Ambassador Javlan Vlakhabov from Uzbekistan. Ambassador has been working extremely hard here in the United States, all over the United States, making a name for his country. And sir, we very much look forward to your comments. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Hoagland, CEO Evgen Nifty. So it's a distinct pleasure to speak at this important platform at a critical time of great changes in a wide region encompassing Central Asia, Caucasus, and the Caspian Sea basin. And taking this unique opportunity, I would like to congratulate my fellow ambassadors from the region on this key milestone in our recent history as we are approaching the 30th anniversary of our nation's independence. And we are very much grateful to the US government for its continuous support of Uzbekistan's independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Indeed, COVID-19 pandemic and its economic disruptions and severe impact to global health taught us bitter lessons. And today it seems clearer than ever. We cannot build a more resilient world without resilient transport and connectivities that enable essential supplies, maintain food security and economic sustainability. As a double-locked country, Uzbekistan has made regional connectivity the centerpiece of its regional policy. And we attach great importance in increasing economic and energy connectivity and fostering trade. That is why we are focusing on creating a network of strategic communications between the regions, which will fully cater to the transport and transit potential and have a multiplier effect on the sustainable development of the entire Central Asia and beyond. In order to foster connectivity since 2016, we've implemented a number of projects in the region. In particular, since the beginning of 2020, so cargo transit to Georgia via Uzbekistan has been launched within the framework of the Baku-Tbilisi Cars Transport Corridor. This road establishes regular transportation of goods from Turkey and Europe to Central Asia and China and vice versa. And when it comes to the development of regional transport corridors, we cannot stress enough the importance of involving Afghanistan in this process. So the country that is already a top 8 trading partner of Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is making great strides in the peace process in Afghanistan, putting a lot of emphasis on infrastructure projects in the country. Uzbekistan has built the Hayraton-Mazar-e-Sharif railway in Afghanistan, which is operating pretty successfully. And we believe that now it's a high time to launch the Trans-Afghan transport corridor along the road Mazar-e-Sharif, Kabul, Peshawar. Once completed, it will provide Central Asia with the shortest access to the ports of the Indian Ocean and the Persian Gulf, and will connect South Asia with the European and Chinese markets, realizing the potential of Afghanistan as a land bridge. In turn, will become an important factor in its sustainable development and restoration of the peaceful economy, which is key condition for the long-term stabilization of the situation in this country. From the position of the South Asian countries, the commissioning of this railway road will significantly reduce the delivery time of goods to Central Asia, the CIS and Europe, from 35 days to 35 days, and in turn reduce the cost of transporting by almost 3 times. In fact, recent first ever shipment of goods from Uzbekistan that reached Pakistan under tier carnets proves the huge profitability of this road. Along with launching prospective transportation routes, we prioritize removing barriers, simplifying visa, transit and customs procedures, harmonizing tariff policies, improving transport infrastructure. In this regard, on the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly last year, President of Uzbekistan put forward the initiative to create a regional center for the development of transport and communication under the auspices of the United Nations. Its major objectives are to provide solutions for effective and mutually beneficial use of international transport corridors, develop existing and form the new ones, and at the same time simplify cross-border transport procedures and increasing the competitiveness of the Central Asian states in the world market of transport services. It is worth mentioning that so far visa and customs procedures were significantly eased. Tier convention widely integrated in the region. Additional checkpoints have been opened. We have lifted almost all the barriers in mutual trade and investment. We established bilateral free trade zones with Kazakhstan and Afghanistan, and planning to create similar with Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Moreover, this April, together with Kazakhstan partners, we've launched the construction of the Central Asia International Center for Trade and Economic Cooperation at the border of the 2 countries that will provide industrial trade and logistics platform to implement joint investment projects between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, primarily in the manufacturing, ag and light industry sectors. As a result, so far, Uzbekistan's trade turnover with the region of Central Asia, despite COVID-19, by the end of 2020, increased region-wise 3-fold compared to 2016, amounting to almost $5 billion, and even 5-fold with some countries bilaterally. And with all our aspirations, we would like to achieve more to ensure prosperous, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development of the region. The objective stands behind the high-level international conference entitled Central Asia, South Asia, Regional Connectivity, Opportunities and Challenges, to be convened in Tashkent on July 15th, 16th. We are confident that this conference could help us to generate strategic vision for greater connectivity between the regions, leverage existing and possible partnerships and collaboration to advance sustainable investments, innovations and technologies for resilient infrastructures, to develop transport capabilities, promote trade and access to world markets, tourism and people-to-people exchange, and address common security challenges. In achieving these goals, we are relying on the support of our partners. As we've embarked on a new era of strategic partnership with the United States, we stand ready to further enhance multifaceted cooperation, including under such regional mechanisms as C5+1 and the United States Central Asia Trade Investment Framework Agreement, TIFA. And we also have high hopes for recently launched Central Asia Investment Partnership, a new initiative to spur private sector growth and connectivity in the region. And it is important to note that these initiatives will not only give impetus to regional connectivity, but also serve for foreign companies as a ready-made platform to enter the region's market as one gate. So I would like to encourage our partners in the region and beyond to seize this momentum and capitalize on emerging opportunities to boost connectivity. Thank you for your attention.
And thanks very much to you, Ambassador Vakhabov. I fondly remember working in your country, 1993 to 95, when it was still a very young nation. And I look forward to visiting again very soon. We will close out the welcome remarks with the Deputy Chief of Mission of Turkey, Mr. Sinan Erte. But before I turn the floor to you, sir, let me say something to our audience about the position of Deputy Chief of Mission. And I speak from long experience as Deputy Chief of Mission. The Deputy Chief of Mission not only has to know absolutely everything about policy and be ready to step in at any second for his ambassador, Deputy Chief of Mission also must run internally the entire embassy and all the consulates. It's really a double job. So with that little footnote, I'll turn the floor to you, Mr. Erte, and look forward to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hogland, for your kind words. Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, I would like to emphasize that it is my distinct honor to attend today's event. After a long break due to the pandemic, we welcome the fact that the Trans-Caspian Forum reinvigorates its traditional panel series, and we are extending our thanks to the Caspian Policy Center for organizing this timely and important event. I also wish to extend my sincere gratitude to the participating embassies, as well as the partners of the forum for their valuable contributions. Today's event provides us with an opportunity to discuss recent developments in the broader Trans-Caspian region and to seek possibilities to further enhance the connectivity among the people, economies, and countries of the region, as well as between the region and the United States. Turkey is located at the crossroads of the Trans-Caspian region, connecting Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. We continue to support initiatives that aim to further develop connectivity and interdependency in this wider region. As Ambassadors Süleymanov and Bakratze before me also highlighted, over the past years, we have concluded many important projects that contribute to energy and transportation security, including the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil pipeline, the Baku-Tbilisi-Erzurum natural gas pipeline, the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway, and the Trans-Anatolian natural gas pipeline. We will certainly continue to work together with our regional partners to develop new projects that are based on mutual gain. I am convinced that enhanced cooperation between Turkey and the US is indispensable for the security of the Trans-Caspian region and beyond. During the forum, high-level officials from Turkey, in particular Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Yavuz Selim Kıran, will elaborate on Turkey's current and prospective role in the connectivity and security of the Trans-Caspian region. In order not to take much of your time, I would like to conclude my remarks by thanking the organizers once again. I wish to underscore my sincere conviction that the Trans-Caspian Forum will provide all participants with an opportunity to fruitfully exchange views and to establish direct contacts between the public and private sector representatives from the region and the US. Thank you very much.
And thanks very much to you, sir. We really appreciate that and appreciate your willingness to step in like this. Now, we have on our schedule our keynote addresses. We have already heard from the National Security Council. We are now going to turn to the U.S. Agency for International Development. And I would like to introduce to you Margaret Ellis, who is the Acting Assistant Administrator in the Bureau for Europe and Eurasia. The floor is yours, ma'am. Please, we look forward to your comments.
Thank you very much and good morning. And thank you to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Caspian Policy Center for inviting me here today and for hosting this important forum. We've heard from many distinguished officials this morning about the unprecedented toll the pandemic and other challenges have had on the region, from the immediate loss of life to the economic setbacks. COVID-19 will likely have ripple effects for years to come. But two lessons we can take from the COVID pandemic are that key challenges, whether it's disease or economic crises, often do not respect borders. And the remedies to these challenges, whether it's behavioral responses like wearing masks or developing vaccines, or new sources of energy, routes for trade or innovations, will transcend borders. The lifting of COVID restrictions will bring new opportunities. In the wake of the pandemic, the countries of the region can seize this moment as a new beginning and a time to build back better. The countries of the region have a new opportunity to work together to capitalize on the region's location, talent, and natural resources to build a better shared future for themselves and for their neighbors. Situated between Europe and Asia and endowed with ample energy resources, the region has always held tremendous potential as a hub for trade, innovation, and investment, particularly in clean energy. And yet, this potential has not always been consistently nor sufficiently supported by the market reforms, anti-corruption efforts, and sustained regional cooperation necessary to transform the region's economy. A fortuitous geographic location and natural resource endowments are not enough for the broader Trans-Caspian region to become a magnet for economic dynamism. Experience shows us that countries that have become focal points for trade and successfully capitalized on the natural resource endowments have created the conditions that attract private sector investment. Those include ironclad property rights, adherence to the rule of law, transparency, the free flow of information, harmonized technical standards and norms, and reduced transactions cost and transit times. Strategic investments in physical infrastructure are critically important, but without these conditions that I mentioned, economies will fail to attract large-scale foreign investment and foster innovation. USAID programs work to achieve these goals in a way that does just that, strengthening the underlying legal, regulatory, and institutional framework that will make the region an attractive and reliable investment destination. USAID is committed to continuing working with the public and private sectors of the countries of the region to build regional cooperation, trade, enhanced energy independence, and innovation. The United States has mobilized significant resources to help the region build this future, including in the clean energy sphere. And in the past 15 years, USAID has helped our partners in Europe and Eurasia region bring more than 12 gigawatts of renewable energy online. But creating a Caspian clean energy hub is not simply a matter of installing new technology. It is a once-in-a-century systemic change. It will require power system operators, regulators, and other stakeholders to restructure how energy is produced, delivered, traded, and consumed. This work is already underway. USAID is supporting system planners, operators, and regulatory agencies to adopt innovative practices that lay the foundation for making the clean energy transition a reality. Working with the region's transmission system operators, USAID is accelerating the expansion of renewable energy generation while ensuring system stability. We are helping the transmission system operators to identify necessary backup generation to support variable renewable energy, provide necessary scheduling, dispatch, and associated services, establish technical criteria for renewable energy interconnection, and create the right incentive mix governing how electricity is traded and consumed. With support from US utility and regulatory volunteers, USAID is also helping countries develop competitive energy markets that can help balance countries' complementary renewable energy resources, whether that is wind in Azerbaijan and Central Asia or hydropower in Georgia. For example, in Georgia, USAID is supporting the development of a day-ahead power exchange, which is expected to be operational this summer. Similar efforts are underway in other countries in the region, including in neighboring Armenia, which plans to integrate its market with the Georgian hub. USAID's support in Georgia is an example of a critical systemic change that will also send correct price signals for further private sector investment in other technologies, such as batteries, hydrocarbon, and geothermal, whose costs are expected to decline in the coming decade. As we've seen in the United States, competitive power markets enable faster adoption of clean energy while simultaneously driving down wholesale prices. But there will be hard choices ahead. For example, the transition to clean energy may threaten groups that are reluctant to change. With thoughtful choices, however, the region can transform its energy sector. With sustained support for energy sector reform, regional cooperation, and investment in modernizing the electricity network, we anticipate that clean energy levels could more than triple in the next decade. Importantly, Europe and other regions remain hungry for new energy resources. USAID continues to support the region's efforts to develop significant electricity interconnection projects, such as the prospective Georgia-Romania undersea transmission cable that would link the region's electricity network directly into the European market. Ultimately, the leaders of the region must commit to systemic change, coupled with strategic investments in hard infrastructure that will position the region to become a leading clean energy supplier and key contributor to the fight against climate change. The Caspian region's drive to develop its clean energy resources is emblematic of its larger goal of becoming a trading hub between European and Asian markets. To do so, cross-border trade must operate efficiently and effectively, and private enterprises must have the opportunity and ability to participate in regional and global value chains. The public and private sectors must build and embrace forums in which the two sides can collaborate constructively in order to define and create business-friendly environments, allowing private enterprises to create employment opportunities and to drive the region's growth and development. Working with its partners, USAID seeks to strengthen and streamline those enabling environments, improving the substance and implementation of business regulations and standards, commercial law, competition policy, and more. These reforms create business-friendly markets and ultimately create greater opportunities for both USAID partner countries as well as American businesses. Regional economic cooperation and constructive interaction between the countries of the region and private sector development and trade is critical, both to address the second-order impacts of the pandemic and to build the foundation for regional stability, peace, and prosperity. In Azerbaijan, for example, USAID has worked with the Azerbaijan Transit Council on a portal to enhance cross-border trade. This portal, called the Transit Freight Information System, gathers transit, rail, and sea freight data and provides key international transit freight performance metrics. In Georgia, USAID streamlined the customs procedure process and clearance process. As a result of USAID assistance, Turkmenistan established its first accredited food safety lab. In the Kyrgyz Republic, USAID assisted local producers in complying with regional and export market standards, resulting in significant new export contracts. In 2017, with support from USAID, the government of Afghanistan opened the five-nation Lapis Lazuli trade corridor connecting Afghanistan to European markets. And lastly, USAID hosts regular trade forums throughout the region to connect businesses across borders. If we can make forward-leaning choices, the Trans-Caspian region can leverage its advantages to recover quickly from the economic impacts of the COVID pandemic, grow its economy, and build back better. I hope this forum will focus on concrete policies that the leaders of the region can undertake now to build the future I just described. To be successful, the region needs to embrace market reforms, legal protections, transparency, and the free flow of information, and find new pathways of regional cooperation. We're committed to continuing to work with the governments and private sector to help transform this region into a new powerhouse for clean energy, economic activity, and technological dynamism. Thank you very much.
And thanks so much to you, Ms. Ellis. We really appreciate these comments. And I want to add that I think it's terribly important for our audience to hear the details of the work that USAID does on the ground. They seldom get headlines in the New York Times or the Times of London, but nevertheless, this is the critical work, like putting bricks in a wall to build a new structure for the future. We're going to turn for our final keynote address to Matthew Murray. Matthew Murray is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Trade and Negotiations in the Bureau of Economic and Business Affairs at my former home, the State Department. The floor is yours, sir. We look forward to your comments.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Hoagland, for that introduction. And thank you for your leadership on diplomatic engagement on behalf of the United States with the Trans-Caspian region throughout your career. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm having a little bit of challenges with my video link, which may cut in and out, but hopefully the audio will continue to work. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, and friends, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to join you here today for the Trans-Caspian Forum. I want to thank in particular Afghan Nifty and the Caspian Policy Center for your efforts to deepen the business and trade ties between the United States and the Caspian region. I'll aim to build this morning on NSC Senior Director Eric Green's earlier comments on U.S. engagement with the Trans-Caspian, with a particular focus on economic engagement. In the State Department's Bureau of Economic and Business Affairs, we focus on promoting prosperity and securing our future. And the Caspian region plays an integral role in these twin objectives. Our trade policy and negotiations team places great importance on strengthening U.S. economic and commercial ties with the countries of the Trans-Caspian. We seek to open new markets, resolve trade disputes, protect intellectual property rights, and promote agriculture to boost global food security and ensure that our workers, farmers, and consumers enjoy the benefits of free, fair, and reciprocal trade. As has been pointed out by the earlier distinguished speakers today, the challenges we face due to the COVID-19 pandemic are significant. The pandemic has ravaged economies all over the world. But I completely agree with Assistant Administrator Margot Ellis in her comments just now, that out of crisis comes opportunity. And the United States wants to work with our partners in the Caspian region to capitalize on this opportunity. The Biden-Harris administration is focused on the U.S. role to lead and sustain a stable and open international trading system. Restoring U.S. leadership abroad also requires economic renewal at home, and the president's trade agenda also reflects that reality. As the United States will pursue a fair international trading system that promotes inclusive economic growth and which reflects America's universal values. We will promote international trade and investment policies that also take into account the needs of American working families and support the United States' domestic economic revival. As Secretary Blinken has stated, the Biden-Harris administration will focus on addressing new and emerging areas in our trade and investment relationships, including several of those that have been highlighted previously, such as combating climate change, increasing supply chain resiliency, protecting workers, and expanding market opportunities for American manufacturers, producers, farmers, fishers, and businesses of all sizes. But as we build back better at home, we're also building and rebuilding partnerships around the world, including across the Trans-Caspian. And I'd like to highlight 3 examples this morning of areas where we're very focused, including infrastructure development, food security, and supply chains. We are engaged and will continue to engage with our Trans-Caspian partners to address the connectivity issues highlighted by many speakers this morning, including a particular focus on infrastructure development. The State Department's Economic and Business Affairs Bureau is leading U.S. efforts to implement the Blue Dot Network, which will bring together governments, the private sector, and civil society under shared standards for global infrastructure development. A great example of U.S. support for infrastructure in the Trans-Caspian region is the Southern Gas Corridor, which launched in late 2020. This multinational project enables a secure, reliable, and competitive supply of gas from the Shah Deniz field in the Caspian Sea to Europe. We support the efforts of all interested parties to explore the possibility of extending the Southern Gas Corridor toward new energy markets based on technical, regulatory, and commercial opportunities, whether it's connecting with resource-rich Central Asian neighbors looking to diversify their export markets, or to European partners as they progress in their transition toward a decarbonized energy system. The United States also is a leader in global food security. As the largest provider of funding for global food security initiatives and emergency food assistance, the US government is working to combat food insecurity and support better global food systems. For example, the US government has worked with partners in the Trans-Caspian region to help improve irrigation techniques, develop agribusinesses along the entire value chain, and adopt new agricultural technologies. US agricultural development activities in the region have generated new agricultural exports and improved food security. Another administration priority is to secure, diversify, and strengthen supply chains. As has already been noted by several other speakers, this past year saw Americans, and all of you in the region as well, struggling to access critical goods and services, which showed that our supply chains need a major revitalization. To work towards this goal, President Biden, through Executive Order 14017 on America's supply chains, directed 100-day reviews of supply chains for 4 critical products: semiconductors, high-capacity batteries, strategic and critical minerals, and pharmaceuticals. The reports from these reviews, which include policy recommendations to address supply chain risks and rebuild industrial bases, were just released yesterday here in Washington, and I would encourage you to take a look at those reports. And the reason it's so important for us to raise supply chains in this kind of context is because the United States will engage partners and allies in this effort, as we recognize that no country can make, manufacture, or produce everything at home. We need to cooperate to ensure global supply chains operate smoothly for the benefit of all of our economies. And we look forward to working with the Trans-Caspian governments in this effort. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. I wish you a productive and enjoyable forum. I look forward to hearing some of the recommendations that come out of the discussions. And we look forward to working with our Trans-Caspian partners in the months and years ahead. Thank you very much.
And thanks very much to you, Matt. We really appreciate your comments. Now, I promise our audience that we will give you a very brief coffee break coming up after our next session, but we would like to move right now into our ministerial comments. And we were hoping to hear from the Foreign Minister of Afghanistan. He's been pulled away urgently. However, Ambassador Rahmani very kindly has offered to make a few comments on his behalf, and then we will continue with our regular schedule here. So back to you, Ambassador Rahmani, and thank you so much for your offer here. We appreciate it.
Ambassador Hogan, let's continue with the Azerbaijani side. I think Ambassador Rahmani will be tuning in, but he's not going to be making remarks here.
Okay, in that case, I saw her come up briefly on the screen, but this always happens during webinars. We're very glad to move straight forward then to the advisor to the Minister of Economic Affairs in the Republic of Azerbaijan, and that would be next speaker, Emil Majidov. To you, sir.
Good morning, colleagues. Let me thank Caspian Policy Center for remaining and being a reliable window for our region to the United States. And I would also like to thank our colleague ambassadors who've made these excellent remarks at the beginning of the event, as well as representatives of the United States government for giving us the vision of the new administration in respect of our region. Let me give you a few remarks on how we in Azerbaijan see the years to come, both for our country and for the region, and for the relations with United States. We remain committed to the good and long record, which spans almost 3 decades of good cooperation and joint projects, which included both US government and US private sector. This cooperation allowed Azerbaijan to build up a very efficient and transnational energy agenda, economic cooperation agenda, trade agenda, and it was instrumental in building Azerbaijan's current economic state and affairs. We remain committed to this cooperation, and we remain committed to the projects that are ongoing and are open for the new projects. Azerbaijan have entered 2021 in a very new and a very exciting new conditions. The main change that we are facing now is the change that came with the liberation of a large portion of Azerbaijani lands that have been under Armenian occupation for the last 3 decades. This new change gives Azerbaijan tremendous opportunities, and it also affects the whole region. As our ambassador Suleymanov mentioned earlier, Azerbaijan is actively engaged in rehabilitation and reconstruction already. We have started a very massive and very ambitious program for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of these liberated lands. When it comes to the economy, Azerbaijan, as all of the countries of the region, have also been under a substantial pressure of the COVID pandemic and the economic and social pressure it brought with it. Azerbaijan remained adept of conservative and prudential economic management, and our program, anti-COVID and pandemic measurements program, was built around social protection of vulnerable groups of people. We believe that we went through the pandemic period with substantially modest losses. Our GDP shrinkage was around 4%, and we hope and sincerely look forward to the rebound this year with the GDP forecast being reviewed just a few days ago by our partners from World Bank and EBRD to around 3% growth this year. We are quite confident that the rebound will continue in the years to come and with accelerated speed. Azerbaijani government have taken the time and, let's say, the pressure that we were under during the COVID pandemic in order to also come up with midterm and long-term development plans. Our president have recently adopted a long-term development vision for social and economic development, and it is built around the pillars of sustainable and competitive economy, green projects, around human capital development, and around the concept of the big return, the concept that we call Büyük Kayıdış, the return and rehabilitation of the newly liberated territories of Azerbaijan. We see this process as both giving us huge opportunities, but also giving us a lot of challenges, as being the source of certain challenges. I have to remind you that the territories that have been liberated are in the vicinity of 14% of overall Azerbaijani territories, and these have been the territories that have basically been destroyed to the, let's say, non-existent level. The infrastructure, towns, social, transport infrastructure, everything is non-existent at the moment. And rebuilding that is requiring huge resources, but it is also a huge opportunity. We will continue to work on that, and the work there has already started. The construction is an active phase. We are building roads, railways, airports, And we already started on reurbanization and development of rural areas. Let's say we are very optimistic and very enthusiastic about what is happening in that part of Azerbaijan. We also believe that the new situation brings huge opportunities for the region because the new connectivity opportunities that are brought with the new situation are important not only for Azerbaijan, and they go well beyond the region of South Caucasus and create additional opportunities for such countries as Turkey, all of the countries of Central Asia, and other countries of the region. We believe that jointly with all these countries, we will be able to contribute substantially to the connectivity, to the development, trade, and investment in our region. I would echo my colleagues who've been saying a lot about the importance of connectivity in our region. We remain committed to the connectivity agenda, first of all, to the connectivity in terms of transport infrastructure, both hard and soft. Azerbaijan is an active participant of basically all regional initiatives that have the goal of promoting transport connectivity in the region. And this is explained by both geographical reasons, by Azerbaijan being in the middle of the most of these corridors, but also by the fact that Azerbaijan is understanding very well that the future of the region and future of our country lays very much in developing reliable and sustainable links with all our neighbors within our region that have been referred to as Trans-Caspian many times during this event, but also through reaching out as a region to the global markets. We understand that and we continue to work on that. The work includes substantial infrastructural investments that Azerbaijan continues to make. And I've seen the program of the event, and I've seen my colleagues from port and from other parts of Azerbaijani government and private and enterprises that they will be able to tell you more about the work that is going on. But what I should stress that Azerbaijan, for the last decade and more, have been consistently investing into upgrading Azerbaijani infrastructure, which is facilitating not only Azerbaijani but regional trade. And Azerbaijan have invested a lot in the Trans-Caspian transit, which we believe is a key to the regional trade. Azerbaijan have built the largest, the most modern port in the region and in Azerbaijan. The works have finished recently and the work on upgrading the port continue. We continue investing in shipping solutions across Caspian. We work with our colleagues and with partners from across of the Caspian region on various connectivity, connection, energy, transport, and other types of projects. This work also continues. Azerbaijan, as I mentioned earlier, continues to be an active participant in regional initiatives that are aimed at facilitating trade and investment. And we believe these initiatives support each other. This is our attitude. Our attitude is complementary. We believe that such initiatives as Trasica, Lapis Lazuli, TMTM, Black Sea to Caspian Sea, and others are all helping us achieving the future in which the countries of the region are well integrated and cooperate with each other and also cooperate in reaching out to global markets. That's the policy that we are committed to continue. We believe that harmonization of procedures, and some of my colleagues before me mentioned that is a very important activity direction. We launched an active digitalization program when it comes to Trans-Caspian cooperation and trade, to supporting transport corridors, to supporting cooperation between enterprises of our countries through a more efficient, more aligned, more harmonized procedure and data exchange. We believe this is a direction that should continue to be the focus of our attention. We continue to work on developing particular routes. As my colleagues before me mentioned, there is a substantial work going on along Baku-Tbilisi-Kars project, which is gradually becoming an important regional route with very good future outlook for containerization and expansion of the geography of trade in our region. As my colleagues from Uzbekistan and others mentioned, the trade geography expands, and we already see growing volumes that go from Southeastern Europe to China and back. And with the current international trade conditions and situation, we believe strongly that this trend will continue, that the importance of our region as the route, as a global route for international trade routes, for international trade flows, is going to continue to grow. In this respect, we believe in both bilateral, regional, and multilateral forums, and we'll continue to engage in all of them in order to contribute to a better future for all of our countries. I thank again my colleagues from the region and from United States for this opportunity to address this excellent panel. Thank you very much.
And many thanks to you, sir. I think our audience hears already a real topic is emerging here: connectivity, connectivity, connectivity. We think we have Ambassador Rahmani back on, but I'm going to ask you, Ambassador, to be just a tad patient, and we are going to turn next to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Turkey, Mr. Yavuz Selim Kiran. Deputy Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Hoagland. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to address once again such a distinguished audience at the Trans-Caspian Forum. I would like to thank the Caspian Policy Center for organizing this very timely and important event. 2 years ago, in 2019, I participated in this forum at the Capitol building of the US Congress. At that time, no one could see the COVID-19 pandemic and its global implications. We have seen major global disruptions since then. From trade to investments, travel to employment, the pandemic had a profound impact on all our economies. The global economy shrank by more than 4%. While many countries faced recession, Turkey had the second highest growth rate in G20. We also achieved one of the biggest industrial production increase. Despite the shortcomings of the pandemic, our exports reached $170 billion last year. Turkey's young and dynamic population, as well as its unique geographical location, offers many opportunities for investors and manufacturers. Businesses in Turkey are able to access a market of 1.5 billion people and $24 trillion by a 4-hour flight. Turkey is also located at the crossroads of energy and transport corridors. We connect the Caspian region with Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. The Caspian region provides a historic opportunity for a model cooperation with its critical position for the European and Asian connectivity. With this view, we value peace and prosperity in our wider region. We have a solid network of bilateral relations with the regional countries. Our solidarity with Azerbaijan has always been and will always be beneficial for the entire region. Today, our President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan is hosting the President of Kyrgyzstan in Turkey. Next week, he will be visiting Azerbaijan. This visit will surely open up new possibilities of cooperation. Our Minister Mevlüt Çavuşoğlu had a fruitful visit to Tajikistan a couple of months ago. We marked the 100th anniversary of our diplomatic relations with Afghanistan this year. As well as our bilateral ties, we come together with the states in the region under the multilateral platforms like the Turkey Council and the Heart of Asia. Our vision has always been the creation of an inclusive environment of peace, stability, and shared prosperity based on regional ownership. In the vast and steep Trans-Caspian region, uninterrupted connectivity is key to development and welfare. Improving the existing road and rail links and building new ones will help revitalize economic activity across the region. We have supported several projects aimed at furthering connectivity. Together with our partners, the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil pipeline has become one of the world's most successful energy projects. The pipeline has transported more than 3.5 billion barrels of Azerbaijani, Turkmen, and Kazakh crude oil to global markets. Around 1% of world's oil trade runs through the BTC. Another major project is the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, which connects Turkey, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. It provides a model for cooperation across regional countries. So far, more than 800,000 tons of cargo have been carried through this railway. The potential of the BTK railway is enormous. The initial capacity is 1 million passengers and 6.5 million tons of cargo per year. By 2034, this could be raised to 3 million passengers and 17 million tons of cargo per year. We also proposed a regional connectivity initiative called the Trans-Caspian East-West Middle Corridor, or the Middle Corridor. The corridor will improve multimodal transport routes crossing the Caucasus region, the Caspian Sea, Central Asia, finally reaching China. The goal is to operate annually 100 block trains in the short term and 1,500 in the long term through the Middle Corridor. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the Caspian region will continue to be a great example for regional cooperation in the post-pandemic economic recovery. In this regard, Turkey welcomes the agreement between Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan to resolve one of the long-standing issues in the Caspian region. The joint exploration and development of the Dostuk field of friendship in the Caspian Sea will contribute to the prosperity and stability of the region. Dostuk field also renews our hopes for furthering Trans-Caspian projects, transportation of Turkmen gas to Turkey and the European markets. The recent most important development in terms of energy connectivity is the completion of the Southern Gas Corridor. With this new project, a new chapter begins in Turkey's and Caspian region's strategic contribution to energy supply security of Europe. TANAP is the backbone of the corridor. It is the fourth main artery to carry gas to the EU. The Southern Gas Corridor is a significant achievement in terms of regional cooperation, innovation, and investment. The Caspian region is not only home to valuable oil and gas reserves, but also has a huge potential of renewable energy. We believe that bringing solar, wind, and hydropower in the energy mix will be crucial for sustainable economic development. We present a success story in this area too. With the fifth biggest installed capacity in renewable energy in Europe and the 12th in the world, we are ready to share our experience with our partners. Our endeavors to further the connectivity and capitalize the opportunities of the Trans-Caspian region creates new possibilities for investors and our economies. The United States is among the largest investors in Turkey as well as in the Caspian. A couple of weeks ago, our President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan came together with senior executives of US-based firms at a VTC meeting. He drew attention to the strategic role of Turkey and its potential to become a global manufacturing and technology hub. Dear friends, in an interconnected world, no country is immune from the negative implications of global economic divide, which the pandemic has deepened. With our common dedication and determination, Trans-Caspian region can become an area of comprehensive cooperation and prosperity. To that end, we stand ready to cooperate and remain open to dialogue with our partners. As a country located on the major energy and transport routes, Turkey will continue to contribute to the peace and welfare of the region and beyond. I would like to once again express my appreciation to the Caspian Policy Center and the US Department of Commerce for organizing this event. Thank you very much.
And Deputy Minister, we thank you sincerely too. We're going to move right along. We have several more important speakers. I'm going to turn very briefly back to Ambassador Rahmani. I think your system is working now, to give a few comments on behalf of your foreign minister, and then we'll move back into our normal schedule. So, Ambassador, once again, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and sorry for the technological glitch before. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Minister Atmar was just pulled into an important meeting and he couldn't be to this very important meeting with us. I hope that you would extend a few more minutes of your time and that I can share some of the comments on his behalf. First of all, Minister was grateful and would like to express his thanks to the Caspian Policy Center for providing a space for us to discuss very critical issues over the past several years. And today's Trans-Caspian Forum is no exception to that rule. I would also like to thank you, Ambassador Hoagland, for steering today's panel in the best possible manner, and also all keynote speakers for their excellent remarks, as well as the very esteemed panelists. For the past 2 decades, Afghanistan has worked with the US and our other international partners to combat terrorism and extremism. Throughout our 20 years of close cooperation, the US has been a foundational partner, and we have strong bilateral ties in far more than just our militaries. Despite this, Afghanistan's role in global conversation is often limited to security. There is no question that the ongoing conflict has often defined our role both regionally and globally. However, Afghanistan's economic potential, spurred on by our wealth of human capital, strategic location, and abundant natural resources, is worth equal consideration and investment. Afghanistan is already a great contributor to the regional economy. Afghanistan's trade volume with Central Asia is more than $1 billion per year, which is only a fraction of what Afghanistan's true potential output could be. As I said earlier this morning, we know we can tremendously improve Afghanistan's potential contribution to regional economy by focusing our efforts on regional and global engagement, clearing the path for investors and businesses to not only exist, but to thrive in Afghanistan and in our region. One way to address this is implementing what is already in the paper. For example, one key barrier is the cost and time of cross-border trade. Fully implementing the WTO's trade facilitation agreement could be extremely beneficial for the region. Furthermore, our Central Asian neighbors have recently partnered with the United States to create Central Asia Investment Fund, a $1.5 billion commitment between the Central Asian countries and US Development Finance Corporation to invest in private sector-owned trade, connectivity, and industrial projects in Central Asia, including Afghanistan, is a crucial step. This funding will generate new investment and be a great catalyst for implementing regional projects that improve access to Central Asia. Infrastructure development is, of course, at the core of the regional cooperation. Central Asian governments are already collaborating on the Lapis Lazuli corridor, progressing the Digital CASA project, and working on the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program with the Asian Development Bank, which targets electricity, railways, and roads. We can move further in this direction by facilitating more discussions like the recent conference between Turkmenistan and Afghanistan, which focused on regional energy transfer and trade projects, including the Tapi gas pipeline. We are also very encouraged to see already great companies like the GE, Boeing, Nokia USA, Caterpillar, Ford, among others, who have shown business interest in Afghanistan. A growing list of Afghan products are now found in Whole Foods, Harris Teeter, HEB, Amazon, and Macy, encouraging large corporations to invest in the region and buy our product is essential. There are many lessons that we can learn from what happened over the past year. It underscored the importance of connectivity. And yes, Ambassador Hoagland, we cannot reemphasize connectivity. This, in order to protect our lives and livelihood, we need more connectivity. We witnessed the urgent need for Central Asian and Caspian area countries to expedite their joint effort to grow our economies and develop critical infrastructure to support our population. Ultimately, the pandemic demonstrated to people, businesses, and governments alike how critical it is to connect with one another. Our region is no different. So let's continue to work on connectivity together. I thank you.
And thanks to you again, Madam Ambassador. We really appreciate that. As always happens when we have a list of very high-level speakers, people's schedules are pushing and changing. We will absolutely cover everyone, but I want to turn at the moment to Mr. Shazlan Madiev, who is the Deputy Chairman of the Agency for Strategic Planning and Reforms of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Thank you for taking time to do this, sir, and the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. Dear participants and fellow speakers, the Trans-Caspian Trade and Transit Corridor plays a strategic role for Kazakhstan's economy, and our government puts a great emphasis on cooperation with the countries of the Greater Caspian region and beyond, especially in the areas of trade, connectivity, infrastructure, and energy. So which are the major areas that shape the sustainability in the growth of our economy. Kazakhstan is open for any fruitful discussion with its fellow partners and has done quite a lot for potential cooperation in terms of government support and investment opportunities, although there still remain some issues that need to be discussed further. Early this year, we have launched, as previously was mentioned, a Central Asian Investment Partnership jointly with US International Development Finance Corporation and Uzbekistan. Through this initiative, we are planning to raise at least $1 billion over 5 years, $1 billion over 5 years to support projects and advance private sector-led growth and increase economic connectivity within Central Asia and the broader region. Focus will be given to projects that exemplify international standards for quality infrastructure and promote inclusive, transparent, and sustainable investments. In doing so, partners will maximize the success and positive impact of the projects and mobilize additional private investment to the region. The Central Asia Investment Partnership is an important step in advancing US efforts to support economic growth and prosperity for Central Asia. The initiative is seeking to take advantage of opportunities for increasing trade, development, and connectivity to make each country in Central Asia stronger and more prosperous. As the region seeks to recover from the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, such cooperation and resilience is more important than ever. The government of Kazakhstan has announced a number of legislative changes to support growth led by the private sector and bring investments to the region. Specifically, Kazakhstan now offers strategic investment agreements for incoming investors that will ensure stability of legislative conditions for the entire duration of an investment project. At this stage, these agreements are offered for investment projects of at least $50 million in priority economic sectors. The government is also offering individualized support measures for each project, though the extent of these measures will be dependent on the volume of incoming investments. I would like to also mention that there is quite a good progress on the development of Astana International Financial Center, which is growing and becoming a really into the regional hub in terms of the financial center. And just to remind you that the jurisdiction within this Astana International Financial Center is governed by English common law. We have English courts there. The judges are from England. We have International Arbitration Center there. The international standards, the regulator are all compliant with the international standards. We have Astana International Exchange. The markup of the companies that are listed on this exchange is growing. Right now it's about $40 billion US. We have Expat Center, which helps with the issues related to some migrational issues. We have FinTech Hub there. The number of companies registered in the internet, including the international companies registered in Astana International Financial Center, are already exceeding 800 companies. So basically, this is a de-risking platform for investors that we offer right now here. There is an established process for delivery of bankable projects to the investors. We have a number of investment promotion agencies with various mandates. Some of them are like Kazakh Invest and AFC Business Connect. So the two main counterparts established to address the needs of the international investment community and to drive direct investments into Kazakhstan. Both these companies are to help to ensure a smooth and structured deal sourcing and structuring process. Projects are structured using different instruments and tools available both within the and outside Astana International Financial Center, such as priority investment contracts, co-investment by state investment funds, government support for offtakes in terms of insurance and export financing and financing mechanisms available to at supranational institutions.
Sir, if you could wind up your comments soon, we'd very much appreciate it, even though you have more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Agriculture, transport and logistics, tourism, energy sector are the ones which also have a great investment prospects and bring connectivity into the region besides mining and oil and gas sectors. We do really believe that for a successful utilization of the Trans-Caspian corridor, the involvement of all countries of the greater Caspian region is vital. Therefore, our country is concerned with smooth development of transit and logistics opportunities in the region. We are open for any discussion in this area that would benefit all involved members. I would like to thank everyone for taking part in this forum. And thank you very much, Ambassador, for giving me a word. So thank you for your attention. Good luck.
And thanks very much to you, sir, and we appreciate those comments. We know that our speakers have very tight schedules. We're going to hope that the comments stay as brief as possible, even though they're terribly important. I want to turn immediately to the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, and this is Lasha Darsalia. To you. Are you there? In that case, if that line has dropped for the moment, I will turn then to Deputy Minister of Economic Development and Trade of the Republic of Tajikistan, and that will be Abdurrahman Safarali. Sir, the floor is yours, and thank you so much for your patience. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of today's 5th annual conference on the forum that we will have today will be beneficial for the development and enhancement of the multilateral cooperation between our countries. Tajikistan considers cooperation with the countries of the region and United States to be among its important partners in the international arena and pays constant attention to the development and strengthening of good relations with them. It should be noted that the consequences have become a new challenge for the entire world community. We are facing the worst global health and economic crisis in 19 years. There is practically no state and sphere that has not been exposed to a crisis. In 2020, the global economy contracted by 4.3%, more than 2.5 times more than during the 2009 global financial crisis. The expected moderated recovery of 4.8% 7% in 2021 hardly offset the previous year's losses. Sustainable recovery from the pandemic will depend not only on the volume of stimulus packages and the rapid deployment of vaccination programs, but also on the close cooperation of the partners. Dear colleagues, the dynamic development of the economy of Tajikistan is gradually recovering after the negative impact in 2020 of the crisis associated with the coronavirus pandemic, as well as other external and internal factors. An improvement in the dynamics of the main macroeconomic indicators was observed already in the second half of the last year, which is associated with the measures taken by the government aimed at preventing the spread of coronavirus infection, reducing the economic damage from its impact, as well as implementation of a wide range of the government support for industries and sectors of the economy. However, the pandemic nevertheless made certain adjustments to the pace of the development of the economy of Tajikistan, which manifested themselves, first of all, in a decrease in the inflow of investments and the volume of remittances, as well as in a decrease in the pace of development of the sphere of trade and services due to the introduced quarantine and restrictive measures at enterprises and organizations. As a result of the impact of these factors, by the end of 2020, the growth of the Tajik economy slowed down by 4.5% against 7.5% in 2019. It should be noted that since the beginning of this year, no new cases of COVID-19 have been registered in the Republic of Tajikistan. All sectors of the economy are currently operating in normal operating mode. At the end of January-April 2021, the country's GDP growth amounted to 8% versus to 6.3%. For the same period in 2020, the excess is 1.7 percentage points. The foreign trade turnover of the Republic for 4 months for 2021 increased by 35% compared to the same period last year, including the volume of the exports increased 1.9 times and imports by 8.6%. Export growth over this period was ensured by the increase in number of the products which is exported by Tajikistan. As for the assessment of the further development of the economy as whole for 2021, provided that the prevailing favorable conditions remain with the spread of coronavirus infection in the Republic, if there is no need to introduce new restrictive measures, as well as with the stabilization of improvement of the situation with coronavirus in the global economy and in the economies of the partner countries. Of course, ensuring sustainable economic growth is associated with the certain external challenges and risks, since the economy of Tajikistan, being a small and open economy, largely depends on the influence of the external factors, in particular on trends in the development of the world economy and world trade, the level of world prices for basic export articles of the Republic, as well on the pace of the development of the economies of the main trading partners. This affects the economy of Tajikistan through trade channels with partners countries' investment inflows and interruption of value-added production chains, as well as through the volume of the remittances to the country. Today, Tajikistan is implementing the National Development Strategy until 2030, which defines 4 main strategic goals: the industrialization of the country, ensuring that its energy and food security, as well as breaking the communication deadlock and turning Tajikistan into a transit country. As part of the implementation of this strategic task, Tajikistan is a supporter of the close partnership with all friendly countries, including the countries of the Caspian region, aims at broad and practical interaction with them in various areas of trade economic partnership, including the implementation of the joint mutual beneficial projects and programs in the fields of energy, development of the transport infrastructure, mining, agriculture, tourism, as well as in the development of trade and removing tariff barriers, which would significantly expand the horizons of international cooperation. Tajikistan has a number of comparative advantages in these areas, and the use of which can serve as a kind of catalyst for economic development, not only for our country, but also become a profitable investment for foreign investors. On the territory of Tajikistan, 60% of all water resources of the Central Asia are found. which creates a huge hydropower potential of the country. With this efficient use of these resources, the region can be provided with the inexpensive and clean energy. Our country is also rich in other important natural resources. More than 400 deposits of various minerals have been explored in the Republic. The economic space of Tajikistan is always open to all investors who create modern competitive industries and new jobs, provide services and the domestic and foreign markets. And for such investors, we have provided a package of economic and administrative preferences. We call on the countries of the Caspian region to intensify direct dialogue with the public and private companies in Tajikistan to develop specific mutual beneficial business projects and programs. On the way to the implementation of the most important tasks and goals for us, we hope for the exchange of opportunities of the developed states and for improving cooperation mechanism, opening new horizons for interaction and international cooperation in the areas of mutual interest. In conclusion, I would like to wish to all participants of the 5th Annual Trans-Caspian Forum fruitful and successful work, and express the hope that the results of today's events will become another important and effective factor for the consolidating our strengths and capabilities, strengthening mutual beneficial economic cooperation between our countries, meeting the aspirations and hopes of our people. Thank you very much for your attention.
And thanks to you, sir. We really appreciate that. It's giving us a more comprehensive view of the entire region. We need to move quickly now. I would like to see if Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, Lasha Darsalia, is on the line technically. Are you there?
Ambassador, we have on his behalf, speaker from Georgia, Gawaram Khandashvili, who is the Director of the Department of Americas.
All right, then this will be our final speaker in this group, and we turn the floor to you.
Gawaram, do you hear us?
With the technical difficulties, we might need to hold that. I would like to thank every one of the speakers on this panel. You gave us terrific background on what's happening in the region, how your country fits into it. And once again, we heard connectivity, connectivity, connectivity. Efkan, Mr. Nifty, I will turn this to you for the moment now.
Thank you.
Dear participants, do you hear me? Is there a video running? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. You just came back on, sir. We're very flexible. We turn the floor to you for a few moments of comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Hovland. Dear participants, greetings on behalf of Deputy Minister Lasha Darsalia. He was indeed here in this room with me for an hour or so. Unfortunately, he was called to an important meeting with the foreign minister, so I was asked to convey some of the prepared remarks on his behalf. Again, thank you for organizing this important gathering for the 5th time. Your efforts are indeed appreciated more than ever because I think there is a lot to discuss and share between the regional countries, especially in the midst of the global pandemic. Of course, this has taken lives and placed a burden on the healthcare sector. The pandemic has also taken its toll on our economies, more importantly. Against this difficult backdrop, again, it's more than it's important to get together, reflect on the challenges of today's reality and opportunities that we need to exploit for recovery and further development, both individually as countries as well as the whole region. Amid a moment of global uncertainty, Georgia deliberately chose a balanced approach to the shock, ensuring health of its citizens while supporting economic activity. During the pandemic, transit borders of Georgia continued to provide all the services, facilitating continuous flow of goods. Georgia offered many governmental services online, facilitated online education and online trade tools, e-commerce, almost for all goods. Commercial flights to and from Georgia are already resumed, and land and sea borders are open for foreign visitors. The government's anti-crisis economic plan allocated more than 1.1 billion for the social support of citizens and increased financing of the healthcare sector. The stimulus package also envisages accelerated funding of framework infrastructure projects, as well as a wide range of fiscal stimuli to reignite the economic activities and business confidence. Due to the above-mentioned measures, according to the IMF projections, Georgia will ensure fast economic recovery in medium term. The growth is expected to be around 4%, supported by infrastructure spending and sustained structural reforms to increase productivity and enhance private sector-led growth. The GDP growth will reach 5.8% in 2022, according to today's projections. While keeping up economic reforms and development plan, Georgia actively continues implementing its international agenda and promoting its traditional role as a regional connectivity hub. Our goal is to finish major ongoing framework infrastructure projects such as East-West Highway and railway rehabilitation projects by 2023. Further development of Georgian Black Sea ports, including the new Anaklia deep sea port, will strengthen Georgia's position as a key player in the regional hub. It has to be noted that the international consulting company Maritime and Transport Business Solutions will update the freight forecast and business model for the Anaklia deep sea port project in a few weeks, and by the end of this year, it will be possible to announce an expression of interest and to select a new investor for this strategic project. We attribute great importance to the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway, as it was mentioned earlier by different speakers, connecting Central Asia with Turkey, EU via Georgia and Azerbaijan. Reduction of shipment period from 35 to 15 to 17 days via the BTK route creates new opportunities for wider region. Furthermore, initiatives such as Black Sea, Caspian Sea International Transportation Route will complement the ongoing regional projects of strategic importance. Significant efforts of the Georgian government are also directed towards developing local renewable energy potential and supporting international energy transit projects within the scope of the Southern Gas Corridor, TANAP and TAP, and other important projects such as Wide Stream, Trans-Caspian Pipeline, etc. Georgia is also aiming at advancing green energy production, which has substantial potential for power generation surplus from renewable energy sources to supply not only internal market, but also the neighboring states in the near future. However, this resource is largely untapped and requires significant investments into new generation facilities and cross-border electricity transmission lines. The government of Georgia has also initiated new submarine cable project, Georgia to Romania, which will enable export of electricity produced in Georgia and wider region to EU market. In January 2021, the government applied for the EU to start the feasibility study of this project. All the above mentioned projects and initiatives will enhance effective, fast and secure transportation of goods and services between Asia to Europe via Caspian and Black Sea, and will foster interregional connectivity with expanded trade and economic relations between the countries. These projects define the function of our region, and they obviously serve a greater purpose to promote connectivity, ensure regional stability, security, and development. Because obviously these concepts go hand in hand. Against our efforts, unfortunately, we witness Russia's growing influence in the Black Sea, South Caucasus region. Russia gradually increases its military presence and expands its own capacity to influence not only political processes and security architecture of the region, but also potentially vital economic, transport, and energy transit projects. Amid the very complex security environment, Georgia strives to remain at the forefront of peace and stability in the South Caucasus. On our part, we are ready to provide neutral and convenient ground through building trust and constructive dialogue to smooth over the tensions and therefore contribute to boosting regional cooperation and integration process. In this setting, stronger Western engagement and presence in the strategically important region is needed more than ever. In this regard, we are glad to witness United States' increased interest towards the region, as well as in particular towards Georgia, as it has been demonstrated by the recent visits of Senators Shaheen and Portman, as well as ongoing visit of the acting Assistant Secretary Ricker to the region. Over the last decades, United States has played an important role in advancing security and stability, as well as energy independence in the Greater Caspian Sea region. The United States has pledged its support for the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Georgia, and invested in its democratic governance and economic development in line with the country's Euro-Atlantic integration agenda. Thanks to the generosity of the American taxpayers throughout the decades, the US aid invested in Georgia in innovation-driven economic growth, strengthening its role at the crossroads of Asia and Europe on a vital trading and transit route. It was of utmost importance that by the end of the 1990s, the US-led international effort to build the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline significantly enhanced the strategic position of the region and Georgia in particular. Obviously, the region's altered strategic environment calls for the United States more active and more preemptive engagement. In this context, I would like to express our strong support for a plan to establish the regional office of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation in Georgia. DFC's regional presence can stimulate funding projects of strategic importance, especially in port infrastructure, financial sector, energy, communications, healthcare, tourism, as well as digitalization and innovation.
Sir, if you could reach conclusion soon, we'd really need to move on.
Thank you. Participation of U.S. companies in such projects is highly encouraged by the Georgian government. In this regard, we already have a successful case of a new multimodal terminal in Batumi Seaport, which was constructed in partnership with the U.S. investor company Tramo. We believe that the U.S. multidimensional presence in the Greater Caspian region remains to be vital, not only for the security and development of the region, but it is in line with the U.S. national interests and priorities, boosting our trade and economic ties with the United States, including through the FTA, free trade agreement, increasing U.S. major investments, as well as engagement in major regional projects is the best way to advance our mutual strategic interests. It goes without saying that Georgia has always positioned itself as a reliable regional partner and strategic asset of the US and the EU in the region and beyond, and is committed to enhancing its role in further promoting intra-regional as well as inter-regional connectivity in the Greater Caspian Sea region. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you a successful forum.
And thanks so much to you. We learned an awful lot with that presentation, and we appreciate it. And thanks to all of our speakers. Thanks to you in the audience for your patience as we deal with technical issues from time to time. But just imagine trying to have done this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, totally different. Sometimes technology is a bit difficult, but we are in a brave new world. So I turn this back now to Mr. Efkan Nifty, the head of the Caspian Policy Center, and I thank you all.
Thank you, Ambassador Hoagland. And I once again want to thank all our speakers for your participation in the first session today. Since we have not much time, I'm not going to go over any concluding remarks on this. We are now starting our second session on the infrastructure in the Caspian region. To access the panel, please use the link you received for the panel 2 in an email from us and also in the chat box. Once again, thanks to all the ambassadors and also all the ministerial panel participants. We look forward to seeing you in the second panel. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your participation.